I am 70 years old. My name is Elena. I live alone now. My husband died many years ago. My children live far, but this week something special is happening. My family invited me to Cancun, a big reunion. My daughters, my son, my grandchildren. I said yes. I bought the ticket. I packed my things, and I came. I arrived today. I was tired but happy. I was ready to see them again. But first I needed to go to the hotel. I went outside to find a taxi. A car stopped. A taxi. I opened the door. I said, "Hello." The driver said nothing. That was the first strange thing. I told him the name of my hotel. He started the car. Still no smile. Still no words. Just silence. I thought, maybe he doesn't like to talk. Or maybe something is wrong. I asked, "Is it a busy day?" He said, "No." That was it. One word. No smile, no interest. I stayed quiet, but I was thinking, who is this man? Why is he so cold? Then he turned on the radio. A sad song played. He turned it off fast, too fast, like the song hurt him. I said nothing, but I knew there is pain inside this man. After some minutes, he asked me, "You came here alone?" I said, "No, my family is here. We will meet later." He didn't say anything for a moment. Then he said, "Family is not always easy." His voice was low, heavy. In that moment, I knew something. This ride is not just about going to the hotel. This ride will be something more. Something none of us expected. The car was quiet again. I looked outside, but my mind was busy. I thought about my family. I thought about dinner. I thought about hugs and smiles. Then the driver spoke. He said, "You are lucky." I asked, "Why?" He said, "You have a family who wants to see you." I didn't answer, not yet. I waited. He continued, "My wife and I, we fight all the time. We don't speak. We don't smile. It's like we live in two different worlds." I said, "That sounds hard." He said, "It is. I sleep on the couch. My daughter doesn't talk to me. She says I never listen. Maybe she's right." Now I understood. He wasn't angry at me. He wasn't rude. He was just broken. I listened. He said, "I work every day. I drive this car. I bring people to nice hotels. I smile at strangers. But in my own house, I feel like a ghost." A ghost. That word stayed in my mind. He said, "Last night I almost left. I packed a bag. I wanted to disappear." I asked, "And why didn't you?" He said, "Because my daughter cried. I heard her behind the door. She didn't say anything, but I heard her cry." Now his voice changed. It was slower, softer. He said, "I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be a father or a husband. I wanted to say something true, something strong. But I stayed quiet, because sometimes silence speaks louder than words. And inside that silence, I knew one thing. This man was not driving to my hotel. He was driving through his pain. I looked at the driver. I didn't ask more questions. I didn't try to fix his problems. I just listened. He said, "My wife says I only care about money. She says I don't talk to her anymore." I asked, "Is she right?" He said, "Maybe. I don't know. I work all the time. I bring food. I pay the bills. But yes, I don't talk. I don't ask how she feels. I don't tell her how I feel either." He paused. He said, "Sometimes I forget she is a person. Not just a woman who cooks or cleans. She's tired too, but I didn't see that." I said, "Sometimes we only see when it's too late." He nodded, then said, "And my daughter, she used to tell me everything. Now she stays in her room. She closes the door. She says, 'You never listen.' And she's right. I didn't listen. I was always on the phone, always working, always tired." There was a silence, a heavy one. Then I spoke. I said, "I also made mistakes. I was married for 40 years. I thought I had time. But one day my husband got sick. Then he was gone." He looked at me through the mirror. I continued. I wanted to tell him so many things. But it was too late. I was always busy. I was always waiting for the right time. But the right time never came. He said, "That's how I feel. Like maybe it's already too late." I said, "No. If your daughter cried when you wanted to leave, it's not too late. If your wife still argues with you, it means she still feels something. When people stop talking, that's when you should worry." He said, "I thought she didn't love me anymore." I said, "Maybe she thinks the same. Maybe she thinks you don't love her." He was quiet. Then he said something unexpected. "My daughter wrote me a letter last year. She left it on my bed. I never read it." I asked, "Why?" He said, "Because I was afraid. I didn't want to know what she really felt. I thought it was hate." I said, "Maybe it was love. Maybe she wrote it because she still cares." He said, "Do you think so?" I said, "You won't know until you open it." He stayed silent. I could feel his mind racing. Then he said, "What if it's too late?" And I answered, "What if it's not?" At that moment, I could feel it. Something inside him was changing. Something small, but real. I didn't plan to say these things. I didn't come to Cancun to help a stranger, but maybe that's why I came. Maybe this taxi ride was not an accident. The car kept moving. But now the silence felt different. He said, I think about leaving every day. I dream about starting a new life. No wife, no daughter, no problems. I asked, and what do you feel in those dreams? He said, peace, but also sadness. I said, that's not a real dream. A real dream brings hope, not pain. He stayed quiet. Then something strange happened. He pulled the car to the side of the road. He didn't say why. He just stopped. He said, can I tell you something? Something I never told anyone. I said, yes. He took a deep breath. He said, last year I made a big mistake. I met another woman. I didn't love her. I didn't even like her. I just wanted to feel free. I never told my wife, but I think she knows. I think that's why everything is broken. My heart stopped for a second. I said, and do you still talk to that woman? He said, no. It was only one time, but that one time changed everything. I said, sometimes one moment can destroy years, but one moment can also fix what is broken. He said, but I don't deserve a second chance. I said, then why are you still driving me? Why are you still talking? Why did you stop the car? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, because your words feel like my mother's words. She died 3 years ago, and before she died, she told me, don't let pride destroy your home. I didn't listen. I said, then listen now. He asked, do you believe people like me can change? I said, yes. But not tomorrow, not next week, only today. Change begins today. He looked down. Then he said, maybe God sent you to this car. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. But I knew this was not a normal ride. This was something bigger. He reached into his pocket. He took out a small paper. He said, this is the letter from my daughter, the one I never opened. I looked at it. He asked, should I read it? I didn't answer. I asked, do you want to stay the same, or do you want to be the man she needs? He looked at the letter again. He said, I'm afraid. I said, be afraid, but open it anyway. He held the letter in his hand, and then he opened it. He opened the letter. He didn't speak. He just read in silence. 1 minute passed, then 2, then 3. I waited. I didn't want to interrupt, but inside I was asking myself many questions. What did she write? Was it a goodbye? Was it full of pain or full of hope? Finally, he spoke. He said, it's not what I thought. I asked, what is it? He said, it's love. I didn't understand. I asked, what do you mean? He looked at the paper. He said, she wrote this 1 year ago. She said, Dad, I know you're not perfect, but I still love you. I miss you. I want my father back. I stayed silent. He continued. She said, "I know you're tired. I know you're lost. But please don't give up. I'm still here, and I still need you." He looked at the paper again. She said, "Don't walk away from us. Walk back to us." And then came the twist. He said, "There's more." At the end of the letter, she wrote, "I hope one day someone will remind you who you are. Someone will help you find the way home again." I froze. He looked at me through the mirror. He said, "That person is you." I couldn't speak. My chest felt heavy, but also light. He said, "You were not just a passenger. You were an answer." I said, "Sometimes life gives us people, not for the whole journey, just for one stop. But that one stop changes everything." He smiled. But then another twist. He said, "There's something else." I asked, "What?" He said, "My wife. She doesn't know about the letter. She doesn't know how I feel now. She doesn't know I want to fix things." I asked, "Then what will you do?" He said, "I don't know yet." I said, "Then let me ask you one question." He said, "Okay." I asked, "If today was your last chance, what would you do?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I would go home. I would hold them. And I would tell the truth." I said, "Then maybe today is your last chance." He looked forward. He didn't drive. He just sat there, thinking, feeling, and I waited for his next move. He didn't move the car. He just sat there. Then he said, "I never planned to talk to anyone today. I just wanted to finish my shift and go home. But now, I don't know what happened." I said, "Something real happened." He said, "Yes. But what do I do now?" I said, "You already know the answer." He looked at the road. Then he said, "I don't want to take you to your hotel. I want to go home." I asked, "Then why don't you?" He said, "Because I'm scared. What if they don't want me anymore?" I said, "You won't know until you try. But if you wait too long, they may not be there." He said, "You're right." Then, slowly, he started the car again. But this time, he didn't drive fast. He drove like someone who was thinking, someone who was choosing something new. After a few minutes, he said, "I'll take you to your hotel first." I said, "No, take me to the nearest bus stop. My family can pick me up. You need to go home." He said, "But you paid for the ride." I said, "The ride is done. The real journey is yours now." He stopped near a small bus station. I said, "This is good." He said, "I don't know how to say thank you." I said, "Then don't say anything. Just live the change." He smiled. It was a quiet smile, a true one. Then he said something I will never forget. He said, "You changed my life in 20 minutes. I hope one day I can do the same for someone else." I said, "You will." He looked at me one last time. Then he turned the car around and drove away. I watched him leave. I stood there, thinking about what just happened. I came to Cancun to see my family. I thought this trip was about hugs, food, and laughs. But maybe it was about something else, too. Maybe this trip was also about one ride, one broken man, one chance to speak, and one truth that I now believe more than ever. Sometimes we don't choose the moment chooses us. I came here to see my family. I wanted to rest. I wanted joy. But life gave me something more. One short ride, one conversation, one man with a heavy heart. I didn't plan to speak. I didn't plan to listen. But sometimes the moment calls you, and you must answer. We think we are too old to help, too small to matter, but maybe one word can change a day. One question can open a door. One act of kindness can save a life. That man was not just a driver. He was a mirror. He showed me my past, my mistakes, my silence, and I showed him his future, a better one. So now I ask myself, and I ask you, who needs your voice today? Who needs your time? Who needs your forgiveness? Don't wait for the perfect moment. It may never come. The right moment is now. Speak now. Love now. Listen now. Because sometimes one moment is all we have.